everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and I have another design team project for you. I hope that you enjoy it. I had so much fun making it, and I'm going to use my handy dandy trusty explosion scoreboard. And I haven't done one in a while, and I really wanted to do another box, and I got another cute idea for how you can use it and what you could do with it. So I thought, well, let's make something. So this is my design team package, and it is Cardabella, and it's called White Christmas, and it's absolutely adorable. So I had to make a cute little explosion box with it. Now it's an album and it's a gift box too, so we will dive right into it. The tutorial is going to be pretty simple because a lot of it is a repetition kind of thing, but we'll go through that. This is just a super cute paper collection, and I just really love the houses and the pattern in this paper. It's just so cute, and look at the little deer in there and everything. So it's just adorable paper to work with. So let's talk about this here real quick. And forgive my fingers. Yeah, I was peeling beets today and I didn't use any gloves, and now my fingers are red and I can't get them unred. So sorry about that, but there you go. So this is all my design team package from Country Craft Creations, so you can totally get that stuff there. So I got the papers. The gold mirror was in my stash, but it is from Country Craft Creations, and I wanted to give this kind of a gold accent, so I used that in several places in this project. I also got the chipboard embellishments that I used on the top cover of this, and then this poinsettia flower. I made that using the dies that I bought for myself from Country Craft Creations. They're by Heartfelt Creations, and it's the small festive poinsettia. And I made the smaller one, and it is still, even though it's a small one, it's pretty big and good sized. And I used some of the gold to do the inner part of the flower there, and I used the pattern paper, and I think it turned out gorgeous. So once I was done with the project, I just used the leftovers and I created the flower with that. Now I also, along with the die, use the shaping mold, and I have the 3D Floral Basic shaping mold, and I'll tell you what, this thing is awesome because you can use any flower die cut or punch you have and put it in here, and I'll show you why. Let me open this up. If you don't have this, you need this, because, and I've been using it so you can tell it's got a lot of paper on it, but the molds are circular. You can put any flower in there as long as it fits in that circle in there and press it through with your die cutting machine, and you'll get a great flower. So if you don't have this, you really need it. It's the 3D Floral Basic Shaping Mold by Country, or it's not by, it's at Country Craft Creations, and I think you're going to like it. So I use those two things to do that flower embellishment on the front. I also use my explosion scoreboard that is available at Country Craft Creations as well. So if you don't have this thing, I love this thing. And yeah, you can make these without it, but you know what? This makes it so much fun because you don't have to think about measurements on this. We're going to use the measurements. The score lines are right there for you. So, you know, I love this thing, and I keep coming up with different ways to be able to use it. So let me show you what we made. All right, explosion box. So I use the extra large box for the outside. We're going to make 3 boxes all together. So when you take the lid off, I just decorated it plain on the inside. We just take that lid off, and then poof, it explodes out. So it looks like my usual explosion boxes. It has different panels that you can, you know, put pictures on. But the cool part about this project is that these actually slide out from underneath the ties, so they're not adhered to the box. And I didn't want to do that because I thought, well, this is going to be fun. These boxes are glued together at the bottom, and these are a little bit more interactive than the usual things. So I wanted to make sure that you could pull them out. So you basically have 4 individual little mini albums in this outer layer. Okay, so I'll show you one of them. This one here, they're all decorated the same. So I used the same pattern papers on the front and the back and on the insides. But each one, I did use gold mirror on the kind of the cover page of these little teeny tiny mini albums. And then I used one of the die cuts that came with the design team package for the, you know, the kind of cover of the album, if you will. This is a never-ending mini album, so it has a lot of spaces for photos, and you can fit a ton in here. And I just decorated a few of the pages, or actually just put pattern paper on them, but you can decorate them all if you want. You can leave them all blank and just put pictures on the inside, but you have a lot of real estate. So what I mean by a never-ending mini album is that when you open up the cover, you have this, but then it opens up and then you have this. Okay, so you have this inner part here. You close it, you turn it, you open that, you have a panel in there. Okay, but wait, there's more, right? Just like Ron Popeil says. Anybody remember that? I'm aging myself again. So then you have another middle section too, and then when you turn that, then you're back to the beginning. You have a lot of different places. Let me get this out of the way for just a second so you can see fully how it looks once it's kind of all opened up. And I've done tutorials using this before, but I thought, what a cute thing to do to be able to add so many pictures to your explosion album. And then I thought the idea of having them so that, you know, you could just slip them underneath your seam binding and you don't have to untie anything, and you don't get hindered because, you know, the box is, you know, glued in the middle here. So I just thought it was a fun, different little piece to do. Okay, so then you come to the next box, and on this one here, I did raid my stash for these little wooden snowflakes and these little snowballs, and added to that and decorated that up. And then I also used that some glitter pen on the snowflakes to kind of make them a little bit glittery. So again, it's just a regular lid, decorated pretty simply on the inside. Okay, and you can still honestly put pictures on the inside if you wanted to. And then this one poofs out. Okay, so it looks kind of the same. It's a little bit different. So in my design team package, I did get the coordinating cardstock with this paper collection, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's make this into an accordion type thing using that double-sided cardstock. And then you have a green mat all ready to go, and you have a red mat all ready to go. And look how many pictures you can put in there. You can put 7 as is right now. I did decorate these with cut-aparts, and I just trimmed them down to fit. And then they, again, just slip down in there. So that I think the cool thing about this project is you could slip those out. And then on the inside, you have this cute little teeny tiny gift box that you could put something fun in. You could put candies in there. You could put an ornament in there. Again, the box is decorated pretty simply, and I did use gold on it, and I used one of the cut-aparts from the paper collection, and I just trimmed it down to say Happy Holidays on there. So really super fun. Very easy, and it's going to be really quick to put together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the outer boxes and the inner pieces, which they're super simple, and give you all the measurements and everything. Down below in the description, I will give you the measurements on how to cut your papers for your triangles here, okay? So I'll have all that down in the description. So we'll just go through kind of the construction of the actual base of this album. But if you've done these before with me, then you kind of know the routine. If not, I'll link the video on what to do with your scoreboard that I did that has a pretty comprehensive video on how to use this. And we'll just kind of go from there, okay? So let's get this out of the way, and then let's get started with the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to need to do is grab our cardstock here. And I'm using white. I used white on my project, but any of the blues in artisan cardstock would look lovely. Red, green, brown, craft, even black would look really great with this particular project. So, you know, anything that you have, you can use. So for the outer box, which is the XXL, extra large box, you need to have a piece of cardstock that's 12 by 12. And then for the lid, you need a piece that's 6.5 by 6.5. And then for the never-ending books, now this looks like a lot, but it actually only takes 3 pieces of cardstock to make them. you need 12 that are 3 3/4 by 7.5, and those will make 4 of the never-ending books that are in the outer part of the box. Okay, so I'll make one with you because they're all made the same, you know, way, so you don't need to see that, you know, 4 times. How's that? So what we're going to do is put our 12 by 12 paper in our scoreboard, and this is the extra, extra large box. So you'll notice on the chart with the explosion board, extra, extra large is a 12 by 12 piece of paper. It tells you how to cut your paper for each size of the boxes. If you wanted to do all 7 boxes, you totally could. Now, I chose to do the extra, extra large, the large, and then the extra, extra small because I wanted a little bit more space in between the boxes, but I also wanted the 2 outer boxes to be able to hold, you know, a nice sized picture. So that's why I chose those sizes, okay? So first one, go on the extra, extra large line and score down on all 4 sides. All right, so this board makes it easy peasy to make one of these boxes. I'm telling you, it's super simple. Okay, so all 4 sides. And then what I like to do, because now that I've got my scores, I know where the points are. I'm just going to go down the diagonal here that's built into your scoreboard, and I'm going to diagonal score all 4 of those corners. Okay, and this is done exactly the same way for the next size box, except for you're going to use, for the large, a 10 by 10 piece of paper. So that's all there is to it. It makes it super simple. Then what you're going to do is we're going to cut the corners. So the corners here that have the diagonal, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this outer corner out, okay, all the way across. So easiest way to do it, well, you can do it a couple easy ways. It just depends on what you want to do. You can use a straight edge and a ruler, or you can line up your score marks, those 2 top corner score marks, on your trimmer and just whack that corner off, okay? So that's the corner that has the score, and you're just going to whack that corner off. You're going to do that on all 4 sides. So I'm just lining up my score marks, and I'm just taking those off all 4 sides. And again, you're going to do this for the other, the second box as well. Really easy. Okay. All right, so this is the outer box. So you should have a piece that looks like that. All right. And then we're going to fold and burnish. And I have no idea where that came from, but you know what? When I cover it with pattern paper, it isn't gonna matter, is it? I have no idea where that came from. I tried to figure it out. Nothing else on my desk had it. So I don't know. I must have done something, one of my pens or something. I'm not sure. But I'm just going around all 4 sides and I'm folding those in. Okay. And then what you're going to do is do the corners. Now the easiest way to do those is to fold it down and then fold that corner back against that score line. And when I do that, I'm going to make sure that the corners of my box, so like if I show it to you like this, the corners match up, okay? And then I'm going to use my fingernail on the inside and just kind of press that, and then I'm going to go in with my scoreboard and burnish that. So then that way they go in and it closes the box on the side. And we're going to do that to all 4 sides. So fold it down flat and then fold on that score line back at the diagonal. All right, and then just do that. Okay, all 4 sides. All right, and then one more time, and making sure that everything's lined up nice, because we want a nice box, right? We want a nice square. And that's all you have to do for that, okay? So we have our box done, and then I'm going to show you here real quick what we're going to do. So we're going to put pattern paper on the square parts of our outer box, and that's where our booklet's going to slip in. So we're going to pretend right now that this blue piece of cardstock is our pattern paper, and we're going to want to put it on our grid now, or on our box here. This is a 4x4 square, so I'm cutting my pattern paper. We're pretending this has pattern on it, at 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. Then I'm going to use my grid here, and I'm just going to kind of put that in the middle, and I'm going to grab my score tape. Let me grab this one. I'm going to throw it because I always throw something and all that. I'm going to put a little bit of score tape on here. And then we're going to use some seam binding. The seam binding is what's going to keep that book in place in our box. And we're just going to lay that down. And I'm just putting it right in the center. So make sure when you do this, you know, your orientation of your paper is correct, okay? And then I'm going to use removable adhesive right now because I'm going to redo this box. But you basically want to use, I would use art glitter glue, and go ahead and put your glue all over this. And then you're going to take your piece, and we're going to put this right in the center and mat the inside. And then obviously you're going to want to put pattern paper on the outside as well, okay? So we have our pattern paper on, we have our seam binding on. This is how you're going to go ahead and make your book stay in the box, okay? So then you can put your book in. You can actually, after you make these, put them in and then tie them and get them nice and tight and then trim the ends and all. But that's basically what you're going to do, okay? I tied it really loose because, you know, I wanted to demonstrate. So, hope that makes sense. So, we made the outer box. You're going to put pattern paper on the outside. You're going to put pattern paper on the inside. I did put pattern paper in the bottom because it will show with the other box that's, even if it's glued on, you know, you're going to have a border around. So you're going to want to put pattern paper here too. Now, when you pattern the corners for the pattern paper, we're going to measure the square, okay? So it's 4 inches. So what you're going to want to do is cut it at 3 3/4, okay? So the squares are 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, but for the corners here, you're going to want to cut it at 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then you're just going to cut that square into, let me show you here, pieces that will cover the corners, okay? So basically what I'm saying is that for the squares, cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller than the square. But for the triangles, you're going to want to cut it at 1/4 of an inch. I hope that makes sense. So once you get your 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch square, you cut it in half, okay? And then what that'll do is that'll give you 2 halves, okay, to do like that, okay? Depending on if your pattern paper, if your paper is, you know, has an orientation or whatever, you're going to want to, you know, watch that. But then you're going to take each of these triangles and then you're just going to cut that in half. So I'm just going to put it in here. I'm going to line my point up to where it's going to cut and cut that, okay? And then that will give you a perfect mat for your corners, okay? Like that. So you don't need to cover the corners on the outside of your box because when you fold that up, nobody's going to see it anyway, right? But you are going to want to do it for the inside. I hope that all makes sense. So now let's make the book that goes in our extra, extra large box, which is our never-ending book. Okay, so this is the one. It opens like this. And then it opens like this, and then it opens like this, and then it goes back to the beginning, okay? So for each one of those, and remember, you're going to need 12 of these pieces all together, and let me show you how to cut that real fast. So I told you that you only need 3 pieces of paper to make all 4 of these books, and it's true, because let me, if I can get my fingers to work. If you pretend that this mat is a 12 by 12 piece of paper, you're going to be able to get 3 out of this top part if you cut it at 7 1/2 and then cut these at 3 3/4. And then you're going to be able to get 1 more down here. Okay, so that's where you're only going to need 3 pieces of paper to get all 4 of these books. All right. So when you get these cut, we're going to score 2 of them at 3 3/4. If I can see the line there, 3 3/4. Okay. So on the 7.5, scored at 3 3/4. So that basically is going to give you just a booklet, right? So you're going to do 2 of those like that. Okay. Put it in the 7.5, score at 3 3/4. The third one, you're going to score a little bit differently. Okay. So we're going to score at 3 3/4. Okay. But you're also going to, and what I did to make it easier, because then you get the folds, I turn it over and then I score at 3.5 and at 4. So you have 1/4 of an inch on either side of that first score. Okay. So let me show you how this goes together. It's really easy. So take the first 2 that we scored at 3/4. Okay. Get your creases nice. All right. Third one, we're going to fold it in half. Okay. Fold it in half on that score line. That's 3 3/4. Okay. And then you have the 2 scores that are 1/4 of an inch on either side of that. Fold those back. We're going to make kind of a W shape. Okay. And make sure everything's nice and tidy here and nice and even. Go. All right, so you should end up with a paper that looks like that. Okay, you have a little divot there, W if you will. Okay, so then take your 2 pieces, your 2 little, half fold cards here, and lay them like that together. All right, and then pop them together just like that. This one, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of art glitter glue, and you're going to put a little line of glue on each side of that 1/4 inch. All right. Don't get it into the groove and don't get too crazy with it, because we actually want it to be able to open. And what you're going to do, take these 2 pieces together and make sure they're nice and square together. Okay. And we're going to stick them in that little W right in the center, and then just glue that down like so. Okay, just press those 2 1/4 inches right on the edge of those 2 cards. And that's how you make this book. That's all there is to it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold those panels in and fold this panel in, and then just make sure that we got nice crease. And then I'm going to open it up in the middle and just make sure that we don't have any glue right there. And that's how you make that book. And it just goes like that. And then you turn it and it goes like that, and you can see that's where you have that edge where that's the binding, and the binding is, that's it. It just binds to the 2 ends of those 2 cards, and that's how you make it. So that's that. So that makes the never-ending book. So you'll need to make 4 of those. The lid for this particular box, everything is going to fall on me, so I'm going to put some stuff away. So you need a 6.5 by 6.5 piece, and we're going to put it in our scoreboard, and where it says lid, score on the lid on all 4 sides. Okay, I am not going to do the diagonal thing on this. We're going to cut it and glue it. Because the diagonal thing, it makes it too bulky. I don't like it. And on this board, you see the lid chart here. So up here, we made the XXL box. It's 12 by 12. XXL lid, 6.5 by 6.5. So this thing tells you how to do it. All right, so I like to do the pinwheel cuts, and I'm going to just go along my scores here, and I'm going to cut straight up. And then I'm going to make a tab out of that little square. Okay. I'm going to turn it and just repeat all 4. I can't see the score. There we go. Like so. Oops. Come on now. There we go. Make sure it's nice and square up that score. And like so. Now, the inner box is really cute, and it holds a little tiny small gift. If your gift is a little bit bigger, you can always omit the smaller box. Sorry guys, I can't see the, I probably should fold it, but that might help. But sometimes that makes it a little more fiddly for me to do. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying is that you can omit these extra small box that we're going to put on the inside for the little gift if your gift is a little bit bigger, because it'll just fit in between, you know, the second layer there. So, all right, so folding. All right, and then we're just going to glue the sides. So I did it pinwheel fashion. We're just going to do one at a time here. It'll give a little bit of stability to each side. Now, one thing to note, if you want to cover, you know, your box obviously with pattern paper, cover the outside completely and then glue your sides up, and then you can cover the inside. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll cover the underside of that lid and then fold the sides up, and then all you have to do is the inside lid, the lip here. And the cool thing about this explosion board is that the lip is 1 1/8 inch wide. So you just cut 1 inch strips and you're good to go, which is really cool. So this lid will be the box diameter, or sides I should say, is 4 inches. The lid is 4 1/4, and that is good because it is an explosion box and it is going to get a little bulky, and that will help keep everything intact, you know, and in the box. If you make the lid smaller with this particular project, with all the elements in it, then it won't fit and hold everything in nicely. It'll be too much. So there's the lid for that. Okay, that's how you make the lids. So I'm going to put this part off to the side. This is the outer box, the extra large box. So you just make the box the lid and 4 of the never ending books, and you're good to go with that. So then the next layer is the large box. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, so we'll just go through this really super fast. You will need a piece that's 10 by 10, and for the lid you will need a 5 7/8 by 5 7/8, and then for the accordions you're just going to need 4 pieces that are 3 by 12, and that's out of 1 sheet of cardstock. Okay, so again, what you're going to do, all the same stuff, so we'll just go through it one more time, but we're making a large box this time. So you're going to go to the large side and score all 4 sides on the large. Okay, I'll give you a nice square box. Okay, and then you can go back and do your diagonals just through that outer box, out of the corner. Okay, all 4. All right, then while we've got the board, let's do our lid. So this is 5 7/8 by 5 7/8, and again, you're just going to do all 4 sides. Okay, score on that lid line. Okay, and no diagonals on this because we're going to cut just like we did earlier. Okay, so then we're going to cut off the corners again. And I'm just going to line up my scores, whack those corners off. I do love the sound of that. There we go. All right, like so. And okay, so that is taken care of. Then, you know, fold and burnish again, like we did. All right, all 4 sides, and then we're going to do the corners. Then we're going to go back and do the corners one more time. All right. So we're just going to fold it and then bring it back on the diagonal, making sure that our outer sides are lined up. Isn't this easy? I mean, once you like do one of these, like they are so easy to put together. I have seen some of these boxes made with pattern paper, and that's all well and good. The only problem is that the paper can't really be directional, because when you fold it up, then stuff gets upside down, and that would drive me crazy. So I do love making them out of cardstock, because then, you know, you can decorate them and you can make sure everything is lined up and all that. And, you know, your pattern paper, if it has a direction, then you know for sure that you're not going to, you know, have anything upside down. So there you go. So I'm just making my lid. And again, I'm cutting just straight up on that score and then making a tab. Okay, just pinwheel style. My scissors obviously have something sticky on them. I'm going to have to clean those off here pretty quick. All right. All right, so we have all that done. Now, for this box, the squares here measure 3 1/8 by 3 1/8, and we're going to do the same thing with the seam binding. It's going to hold those in. Okay, so again, I'm just going to find the center here using my grid, and I'm going to put a little bit of tape on there, and then I'm going to set my seam binding, and I'm going fast because this is exactly the same as the bigger box. All right, and then we're going to use just repositional tape because this is a demo here, and I'm going to go back and you know, take this off and like probably make another one, right? Okay, and then we're going to put it in. Like so. Okay, and then that will hold our accordion. Now our accordion, again, is 3 by 12. You'll need 4 of them, 1 for each side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my scoreboard, and I'm going to score properly. I'm going to score at 6, and then I'm going to flip it over and score at 3 and at 9, and that will give me my scores in the proper orientation for my accordion. Okay, it's just what I did. And then fold it, fold it, fold it, and then boom, you've got your accordion. And that's all there is to that. I decorated the front. I didn't really decorate anything on the inside because I was going to put pictures on there. Okay, and I did use the double-sided coordinating cardstock, so that was really pretty to do. If you do use artisan cardstock, you can decorate the front and just leave the rest, you know, blank. That's fine, however you want to do it, but that's how I did mine. And then this will just slip underneath here, and then you can tie your ribbon, your seam binding, and then that will hold it in place and look really pretty, and then act, you know, like as a belly band. Okay, and you can trim off the corners once you get your bow nice and pretty. All right, making the lid, again, same process. We're just going to fold up the sides and glue. Okay, and I'll do this with the repositional tape this time just to make it faster, and then we'll work on the box. Now, the inner box is the same thing, same process for the lid. Okay. All right, so we're just going to do that, right? Yep. Repositional, I pulled it right apart. Ah, too funny. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. So yeah, it's not holding very well on the lid, but you get the gist, okay? So just remember on your lid, cover the outside with your pattern papers first. Cover the inside of the top of the lid with pattern paper. Put your box together and then cover it with pattern paper on the inside pieces here, okay? So that part is done. And then the inner box, which is the extra, extra small box, is just the gift box, okay? So if we look at our project, it's just the gift box in the middle, okay, that you can fill with some things. And you don't, like I said, you don't have to put that in there if you don't want to. If you want to leave that off and just have this whole area as a gift box, you'll have quite a bit of room to do that. You'll have, how big is this? Let me measure it real quick. It's like 3.5. No, actually. About 3 3/8 by 3 3/8. So it's a pretty good size box. This one here is 2 by 2. So depending on what you want to do, but I thought I would go through it because that's how I made it. So the box is 6 by 6. The lid is 4.5 by 4.5. And basically you're going to do all the same things, except you're going to build the box for the extra, extra small like you do the lids. Okay, so you're going to put it in. It's extra, extra small. So we're going to score on all 4 sides. And do not do the diagonals on this piece, okay? So it'll be like that. And the lid, again, same thing, score on all 4 sides. I'm not going to go through that again because you guys know that. I already did it. We're going to cut them all the same. So for the box, I'm not going to do the lid because we've already done 2 of them. But for the box, you're going to cut it just like for the lid, okay? So you're going to cut up straight, and then we're going to do a tab. Okay, and do that on all 4 sides, and then you're just going to build it just like you did for the lid, okay? You may want to, and I'm going to, trim off a little bit of these tabs so they aren't quite as long. Just a little bit, not too much. And then this will just be put together like a box, okay? It'll end up like a box. So I hope that makes sense. So again, once you get this cut, you'll cover the outside panels of your box. And I should say this too, for the 2 inner boxes, you don't have to put pattern paper on the bottom of the box because they're going to get glued down, okay? For the outer box, I did do pattern paper. Oops, I threw a book because I wanted to kind of strengthen the box a little bit. So you're going to fold this up. Okay. And then we may not have to, but I did do it. I just cut a little bit off the length of the tabs, just to make sure that it fits nice. Okay, just a sliver, just so it's a little bit shorter. And then you just glue up the sides, okay? So let me get rid of this. And I'll use glue this time because, you know. Then you just glue your tab up and match those corners, okay? And this will kind of reinforce the sides of the boxes too. Now again, just put pattern paper on the outside sides, put it on the inside bottom, and then fold up your sides and glue them down like I'm doing here, and then you can go back and put pattern paper on the inside sides of your box, okay? All right. When you get to here, just make sure your tabs are going on the inside because it's really hard sometimes if you have them on the outside of your box when you glue these up to get them in if you accidentally leave them on the, you know, outside of the box. So make sure your tabs are on the inside. All right. And then this is the little tricky part, but it can be done. Okay. And that's how you make your box. And then you just make the lid to go on top of that. Okay, so I hope that made sense. I mean, it's a lot of repetition to make the boxes. You're going to do the lid the exact same way as we did the other two lids, and that will just fit over here. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way and get my little books. So you will have your beautiful little, oh, and I don't think I told you. So the sides of this, I cut at like the squares to cover the corners here. I cut at 3 inches, and then I cut the triangles out of that. Okay, so I didn't tell you that part. So cut these at 3 inches, and I cut the pattern papers for this particular one at 3 1/8 by 3 1/8, and used my seam binding for that. So each of the seam binding pieces were 10 inches long. They wrap perfectly to hold your books in place. And you can just slip those under, just like a belly band, okay? And you have your little book. So once you get everything done, then you're just basically going to glue your boxes into the centers, okay? They just glue right down in the middle. And I put pattern paper down first before I did it, because you can see there's a lot of room around the boxes that show. So I wanted to do that, so I did do that. And then to fold them up, you just kind of fold it up like this, and then grab your lid. All right, and then we'll put our paper or our books in our other layer here and slide those in. Isn't this cute? I just thought it was kind of fun to do it this way, and it was really pretty, and I liked all the bows because they kind of reminded me of Christmas presents. And then that just folds up like so. And you can see how it's getting a little bulky here. And then just put your lid on, and boom, there you go. And it will fit nice and snug. Your box isn't going to, the lid isn't going to come off. Then you can decorate. I did use enamel dots. These are also from the paper collection as well. So that was in my design team package as well. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. This was a really fun project. This was Cartabella, and it is White Christmas, and it's available at Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com, as is the explosion board and the Heartfelt Creations Floral Basics shaping mold, and what did I do with it? And the poinsettia die that I used to make the flower on the top, and it's really fun to do. So thanks for watching. Visit Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com and have fun making this explosion box. And I will see you again soon with another tutorial. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Bye-bye.